be well, not the hardest and worst, I shouldn't say that, but we're gonna do one of the hardest problems of this chapter. But don't let that frighten you though, just make sure you write it down because it's gonna be not too bad if you write it down. Ready? Okay, so there's some more brightness for you. Wait, hold on. Need to close that. Close that. There we go. And we're gonna do 26. So this is chapter 3, number 26. Whoops, I wrote the wrong number. By the way, have you ever wondered if the people that people think are dumb are actually the smart people? Because sometimes when I write the wrong number, I think it's because maybe my brain's already on something else. So like sometimes I miswrite the digits down, and maybe it's because my brain already processed it in like a millionth of a second, and by the time my hand is writing it down, it's like already on a different number. That's ADHD. Yeah, probably so. Probably so. So, yeah, exactly. I'm sure I probably have that. Even like to the worst, I'm probably mentally ill as well. So, chapter 3, number 26. So, chapter 3, number 26 says x plus y equals -1, y plus 3z equals -17, and then 3x minus z equals 0. So that's the original problem. And by the way, they have these the little they call that a curly brace that goes by the side that keeps the equations together. So that's called a system of equations. That curly brace just means that they're all together. Now we're going to change that into a matrix. Matrix. So 1x, 1y. But the thing is, there's no z, so we have to write 0 for the z, and then equals -1. Then we have 0x, 1y, 3z, -17. 3x, 0y, -1z. And then 0, right? So we're supposed to solve this. We're supposed to solve the system of equations without using the equations. That's the point. We're supposed to, this is the only big third level problem that we're doing, where we're supposed to solve it without the letters. So let's see if we can do it. So when you have a third level problem without the letters, the corner of the problem is considered to be everything below the, see the 1, and the -1? That's called the diagonal. Everything below that is down in the corner. We need to get, instead of just getting 2 zeros, we need to get 3 zeros now. So we need to get the 3 to become a 0. Yes.
So x is 4, but why is y 0? Like
In the bottom line,
the second.
line. Y and x, y, -1.
Y is the 1.
X is 0 and y is actually 1. Yeah, so
Oh.
yeah, so there's a y in the first, but the y, I should have written them in like different columns. I accidentally put the y in the top equation. I put that like in the first spot, but the y is actually in the second spot. So there's like a 0x in front of that y, so there's like 0x in the middle equation, but then there's 1y, and then there's 3z. Good question.
So
Yes.
So we're not trying to change any of the lines.
We're not trying to change any of the lines yet, but we need to get the 3 in the bottom though to become a 0, because we need there to be a 0 in the corner. In fact, we need 3 zeros now in the corner. So we already have 2 zeros though. The left hand, yeah, the lower left hand corner.
So you need 0, 0, 0.
Yep. So what could we do what about if I took the row 1 times -3, and if I added that on to row 3? Would that work? What if I took the top row, which is called row 1, if I multiplied that by -3, then you would change the 1 to a -3, right? And then if I added that to the bottom row, then I would get the result. So that's a little tough. Should I do it though? Should I do both steps at once, or should I do one step at a time? Which do you want me to do? Both steps at once or one step at a time? Both steps at once, okay. So we're going to do both the steps at once. So -3 row 1 is defined as, so take the top row, multiply by -3. -3, -3. 0 equals, what's -3 times -1? 3, right. Plus yeah, plus row 3. Whoops, I wrote the R twice. My brain's always losing track of where I am. Yes. Because there's a 1 in the top row, but there's not a 3 in the top row. So the common multiple of 3 is like 3. So I need to get this to become the opposite of that. So I need to multiply the 1 times a -3 so it becomes the opposite of the positive 3. Yeah, so since that's a positive 3 and I need to get rid of it, the only thing that I can multiply 1 times to make the 1 become -3 is -3. Yeah. Because I need to use, because I need to make them be opposites, because opposites will eliminate each other. So if I add row 3 to that, it would be 3, 3, 0, -1, 0. Now add that up. And then what do I get? I get -3 plus 3 is 0. -3 plus 0 is -3. 0, -1 makes -1. 3 plus 0 makes 3. Right? Oh no, that's yeah. Yeah, we do. So actually, but that's okay though. So the next step is, so now where are we gonna put this answer? By the way, I really need to keep that 0 at the first though as well. So where am I gonna put this result? What row does that result go into? It's added onto row 3, so I'm gonna put that into row 3. Correct. So row 3 is now going to be 0, -3, -1, 3. Row 2 is going to be 0, 1, 3, -17. Row 1 is going to be that. So like everything in life, sometimes when you try to do something good, something bad happens. Something else bad happens, right? Like if you're trying to help somebody, you might have accidentally hurt somebody else. So we made this become 0 now, which is good. What did we do to that 0 though? Accidentally though. We got rid of that 0, which is bad. So we need to get this to become 0 again. So once again, we have a 1 above it. What can I do to that 1? What can I multiply the 1 times to make it become 3? Positive 3. And then positive 3 plus that 3 will become 0. Right? So I need to do 3 times row 2 now added to row 3. How's that? Does that make sense to you? 3 times row 2 will add to row 3. So let me, can I erase the top half? I'm going to erase the top part. There we go. Feels exciting to be almost done with the first chapter. Well, I keep saying the first chapter, but it's the third chapter because we already did the first chapter in intermediate algebra. Okay, there we go. Okay, so 3 times row 2 is going to be 3 times row 2 is equal to 0, 3. Okay, what is the next number going to be? 9. What's the next number going to be? -51, correct. And I'm going to add that to plus row 3, which is equal to yeah, so it's 0, 0, and then what is the next one? It reminds me of the cafeteria. What's the next number? 8. Then what's -51 plus 3? -48. So 40 people ate some food, but it wasn't good. That means that -48. I guess, maybe, I don't know. So 8 and then -48. So there we go. Boom. So is that going to be the new row 3 or what's that going to be? That is going to be the new row 3. Yep. So the new row 3 is going to be 0, 0, 8, -48, 0, -3, -1, 3, 0, 3, 9, -51. By the way, 51 is scary. Do you know why? Because of area 51. Have you ever heard of area 51? Okay, perfect. Now, we could stop here and go back to the equations, but then that would actually be less efficient because we'd have to use letters again. Is there any way that I can get rid of the 8 to make it become 1 without using letters? Yep, multiply times 1/8. So we're gonna do 1/8 times row 3, except we don't actually have to add, well, we could if we did, let's just do one step at a time though. First, let's just multiply by 1/8. So then I'm gonna erase the bottom because I don't need the bottom anymore. Oh, this goes forever. Guess what though? Think about what you can do after you're done with school today. You could go to Brahms, or you could also go to Dylan's and get yourself some snacks from Dylan's. How many of you know about Dylan's in this class? Does anybody know about Dylan's? 4 people, 5 people. Okay, perfect. So Dylan's had some sales this week. 001. What's 48 times 1/8? -6, correct. That's right. Yep. 0, -3, -1, 3. See, it's almost like playing Sudoku, except the rules are different though. How many of you play Sudoku? Am I saying that right? Okay, cool. 0, 3, 9, -51, except -51 is not like Sudoku because are you allowed to have 2-digit numbers in Sudoku? Okay, that's what I thought. Right. So 0, 3, 9, -51, 0, -3, -1, 3, 0, 0, 1, -6. Okay, now we have two options. We can stop right now and we can start going backwards because the bottom equation represents x, y, or z, the one. Z. So that means 1z equals -6. So we can start working our way backwards and plug the z equals -6 into the next equation. And then we could work backwards and again. However, though, guess what? If you want to, you could actually do, you don't have to do that though, because here's this, what secret strategy did we learn last time? Wait, how did I get a 0 in the top row? Did I make a mistake? The top row has always been 0?
Yeah, because that equation doesn't have a z.
I think must have written something down wrong though. Because the first equation was actually 1x plus 1y equals -1. So, does anybody remember where I went wrong? I must have copied down the wrong one. Whoops, there's too many steps to go back. Sorry. Okay, so can I look at somebody's notes that's like written down? Does anybody have it all written down? I just want to remember if I actually had the right row, if I had the right row at first. Down. So that was the top row first, right?
This was the
That was still the same. That was still the same. That was still the same. So really, I never should have had $51. How could I? Well, I think I had 51. I was adding it. Okay, I see what was wrong. That was actually, this was the new row 3. This was supposed to be the new row 3, but this is not the top row. That was not the new row 1 though. So that is supposed to be the new row 3, but 0, 3, -9, -51, that's not supposed to be the new row 1. So erase that. Row 1, you're not supposed to change row 1 when you're really changing row 3, right? So the correct row 1 should have been the same as it was on the last page, which is 1x, 1y, 0, 0, and -1. There we go. Perfect. All right. So we fixed that at least once. Sorry about that. Every time a teacher makes a mistake, it messes all the students all up. So that's my fault. Okay, so 1, 1, 0, -1. Does that look better to you now? Because the top row is still supposed to be the same. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Remember I told you last time that you can actually finish the whole problem completely if you get the bottom corner to be zeros, and also if you get the top corner to also be zeros. Remember that? So why don't we try to get this top corner to be zeros? There's already a 0 in the middle corner, but we need to get a 0 there and a 0 there so that the whole corner is all zeros. What can I do to make that happen? What if I took row 3 and added row 3 onto row 2. What if I did that? What if I took this row right here, row 3, and I added it to row 2? So what do you get if you do 0 added to 0? What is 0 added onto 0? It'd be 0, right? So 0 added onto 0 would be 0. So in the middle row, I'm going to put 0. What is 0 added to negative 3? Negative 3, correct? And then, so right in the very middle, I'll have negative 3. What is 1 added to negative 1? 0, correct? And then what is negative 6 added to 3? Correct. Now in the bottom row, I still have 0, 0, 1, negative 6. And in the top row, I need to make sure I write down the same thing again. There we go. So I'm now even more done. So I have a 0 there, a 0 there. But first though, do you notice that the negative 3 on this side of the equal sign and the negative 3 on that side of the equal sign are both divisible by negative 3, right? So I can make the problem become 3 times easier if I just multiplied it by negative 1/3. So I'm going to take row 2 multiplied by negative 1/3. Why would I do that? Because negative 1/3 times negative 3 is equal to positive 1. Remember? So let's do that. So I'll erase some space at the top. There we go. Some space. Sorry. By the way, did they have good donuts yesterday at Chapel? What? Oh, the cookies. Oh yeah, I forgot about the cookies. I felt so bad because I went out afterwards to get the last donut. And then just as I picked it up and I was feeling happy, another student came by and wanted a donut. And so I said, you can have it. But then she said, no, you can have it. So then I didn't have a choice, so I had to eat it. But then I felt bad because I wanted all the students to have them first. So that it was strange because the donut tasted good, but it also tasted bad because it was like I was like stealing it from somebody else. So the middle row is going to be 0, 1. So next time that happens, I'm going to just insist because I learned a lesson from that. Next time it happens, I'm just going to insist and say, no, like you have to take it because I didn't really enjoy it as much as I thought I would. Sorry, perfect. Okay, so the bottom row is 0, 0, 1, and negative 6, and middle row is 0, 1, 0, 1. The top row is 1, 1, 0. So let me get the yardstick because it's kind of high. So I have 0 here, I have 0 here. There's one more 0 up in the top to finish the triple crown and make it all be zeros in the top triangle in the top corner. What can I do to make that 1 become a 0? What can I do to make that 1 right there become a 0? Yep. Negative row 2 plus row 1. Exactly. Very smart. Wow. You know what's weird is sometimes these things just become like stuck. See that? And you can't erase certain things. Do you think that maybe the iPad actually has ADHD as well? That'd be weird. Okay, so we're gonna take negative row 2. Hold on a second. It heard that and then I think got mad at me. Negative row 2 plus row 1. We're going to change row 1 to be negative row 2 plus row 1. So we're just going to take the opposite of row 2. We're going to take the opposite of row 2 and add it to row 1. So what is negative 0 plus 1? What's negative 0 plus 1? It is 1. What is, okay, so row 2 is 1. What is negative 1 plus a 1? 0, correct. And then the next one, what is negative 0 plus 0? Still, it's 0. So that looks nice. And then what is negative? Take that 1 and make it negative. What is negative 1 plus a negative 1? Negative 2, right? So it's -2. And then you keep the second row the same as it is. Isn't there a song that says the same as it was? Same as it was. That reminds me of a song. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah, probably. And so there we go. There's that. Now, guess what? When it's ones on the diagonal and zeros everywhere that's not the diagonal, what did I tell you about that specific result? Then the answers are actually just automatically on the other side. So what is x equal to? What is y equal to? And what is z equal to? So then you put them in alphabetical order. -2, 1, 6. There we go. Oh, sorry, -2, 1, -6. There we go. Have you ever done a problem where you got everything right except for like one sign because you just like forgot to write it down at the end? That almost happened. So -2, 1, and -6. So there's the answer. Now you're all finished with chapter 3 homework of learning about it. Because we've done all the different kinds of problems. By the way, did anybody try the Cramer's rule problems yet on the homework? Did you like those? The ones where you do the diagonal things? Cool. Okay, so now we're ready for, I just have a little bit of announcement. So I took a test that I had before. I narrowed it down by like 30% more. I took off 3 extra problems instead of 11. It's only 8. So you have just a little tiny little test just to make sure that you know how to do it. And it's going to be, it's also online in Pearson. But you have to make sure you click on the left side where it says assignments, and then it'll show your assignments. There's 2 assignments only right now. Chapter 1, no, it's not chapter 1. Chapter 3, I mean, and then chapter 3 test. And I'm going to give you until all the way until 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday to do that test with those 8 questions. So just don't forget about that after you're done with your homework. Maybe take Labor Day off or something, but then on Tuesday, get that test done. It shouldn't take too long, but it's just going to like test to see whether you know how to do it. And I'm also planning on, whenever I get time, I'm going to try to make a video going through all those 8 questions again, even they're all coming from the homework. But I'm going to make another video, planning on it at least, to record how to do those 8 questions on the test so that you can watch the video as you're working on the test even. So that it'll be like your best test ever. The only thing you can't look on during the test is like AI or whatever like that. Just make sure that you're actually watching and learning on your own. Okay, ready? We're now ready for chapter 4. And chapter 4 is going to be a whole different type of thing. So, by the way, maybe if you do well enough on the test, maybe I can do something special for you in class on Wednesday. If you do well enough on the test as a whole, maybe I can do something special for you in class on Wednesday. So, what goal should I set for you to do on the test to get something special on?
80 or higher.
80 or higher on average? Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like your ambition. 60. But if you have the video to watch as I'm doing it, you should be able to do 80 or higher, right? So if the class average is 80 or higher, then I can get you some surprise from Dylan's maybe. How about that? Would that sound good? Okay. So now we're going to start chapter 4. Ready? So question 1 on chapter 4 homework. By the way, I'm still working on finalizing it. I don't want to make it too hard, but I don't want to make it too easy though either. So I'm still working on finalizing the chapter 4 homework. But this is my notes as of now. So the first example from chapter 4 homework looks like this. Oh, now I know some of you do not like graphing, so pay special attention to this one. 3x plus 6y less than or equal to 6, 4x plus y less than or equal to 8. So, and then it says to graph that. Well, so first of all, let's do one in blue, because blue stands for you. Blue. Let's do 3x plus 6y. And by the way, when you graph them, the first thing you do is you change the inequalities to an equality. And I almost forgot the y. So 3x plus 6y equals 6. But then you have to decide whether it's to make that a solid graph or a dashed graph. A dash graph. I keep saying graphed instead of graph. How do you know whether to make it a solid graph or a dashed graph? Yep, if there's a line under it, that makes it solid. So this is gonna be a solid blue line. And how do I find the points on that solid blue line? Y and X, right? Yeah, I could do that actually as well. Actually, wait a second. I forgot rule number 1 of math. Does anybody happen to notice that 3, 6, and 6 all can be divided by a number? 3, you're right. So one thing I want you to learn is always be a critical thinker. See if you can make problems easier. You can make this easier by actually dividing by 3, right? So then it'll be x plus 2y equals 2. So we cheated the system. Actually, we didn't really cheat the system. That's actually how it's supposed to work. Now we're going to make the table of values. Oh, what is happening? I put my pencil into some mode and it's like trying to guess what I'm writing and it's like acting weird. Okay, so X, do you notice how my lines are getting straight now? Like really, really straight? Really? Okay. Wow. So X and Y, I have to plug in something for X and something for Y. So what can I plug in for X and Y to make the equation be true? So 1 plus 2 times what equals 2? Or actually, let's not do it that way. What's the easiest number to plug in? How about 0? So let's plug in 0 for Y. Oh, wow, look at that. It made it perfect. Okay, there we go. So then if I plug in 0 for Y, I would have X plus 2 times 0 equals 2, right? And 2 times 0 is 20. Just kidding. It's 0. So you do X by itself equals 2, right? So there it is. 2 and 0. Well, that circle is so circular, it doesn't even look like a 0 to my eyes. Okay, so then, now how can I find another point on the line? Yeah, I could put in 1. I could. But let me be lazy. Let me just plug in 0 for X, though. Wait. Look, my 0 is so bad, it didn't even think that was a circle. Let me try again. It's not working. Oh, well. How do I get out of this mode? Oh, wait, okay, my pencil got transformed into the pencil that has the sparkles beside it. Like the magic pencil. Okay, there we go. I went back to normal now. Now I plug in 0 for X. So if I plug in 0 for X, I get 0 plus 2 times Y equals 2. So 0 is just 0. So I get 2Y equals 2. Divide by 2. Divide by 2. You get Y by itself equals 1. So the Y value is 1. Now we're ready to draw a solid blue line. Boom, boom, solid blue line. What are the points on the solid blue line? Well, the thing is 2, 0 actually can be connected into a point, right? Like 2, 0. And 0, 1 can be connected into a point like 0, 1. So go to X equals 2 and Y equals 0 and plot a point at 2, 0. And then go to X equals 0 and Y equals 1 and then plot a point at 0, 1. So there's my points. And what's the point of that? Nobody knows. Learning, I guess. Is learning the point of everything? I don't know. Maybe. Okay, so I'm down to the blue line. Now, what color should I use for the other one? How about green? Is green good? Green sounds good to me. So let's make a green line. So is the green line going to be solid or dashed? Is the green line going to be a solid green line or a dashed green line? Solid, you're right. Solid. Just like your understanding of math is also really solid. Is it good to be the slope? Well, it doesn't ask actually for the slope. So I'm sorry, you can't see the instructions. It just says to graph the line, to graph the solutions to the inequalities. So we don't have to say what the slope is, but that's a really good question though. We're going to get to slope, I think, in a little while. At this point, we're just being like doing the basics. So the green line, like, isn't there a green goblin on Spider-Man? So the green line is also solid and it's 4x plus y, and I'm going to change it to an equality equals 8, then can I divide 4 and y and 8 by anything? No. So this one can't be simplified, sadly. But we can still make a table. So x and y, there we go. I can plug in, what can I plug in? I'll let you decide. As long as it's not too crazy. 4? I'm gonna say that's not really crazy, but it's too crazy for me though. What's an easier one to plug in besides 4? 2. 0. Okay, I like 0. Should I plug in 0 for x or y? X. So if I plug in 0 for x, you'll get 4 times 0 plus y equals 8. And 4 times 0 is 40, right? Just kidding. It looks like 40 though. And then y equals 8, is that the answer? Yep, that's the answer. So your first point is 0, 8. Boom. So if your team didn't have supper, that means 0, 8. Now, let's plug in 0 for y. Let's plug in 0 for y. So 4x plus y equals 8. Plug in 0 for y. Don't ask me why. So plug in 0 for y. And now what do you do to solve it? Subtract 0. Well, actually, you don't really have to subtract 0 because that wouldn't do anything. So just drop the 0. You have 4x equals 8. How do I solve 4x equals 8? Divide by 4. What's 8 divided by 4? 2. And so x equals 2. So you have the point 2, 0. You have the point 2, 0 and the point 0, 8. So I'm going to plot 2, 0. X equals 2, y equals 0. So that would actually be on top of that other point, right? Ah, nuts. Now you can't see the blue point anymore. And then plot 0, 8. So go to 0, 8. Plot that on the y-axis. So there's your green line. Okay, now we graphed the blue line and the green line by themselves, but now we have to integrate them together. Integrating what you know, or applying what you know, is the hardest part. So we have to go back to what we are actually trying to graph. We're not just trying to graph the blue line and the green line alone. We need to graph the inequalities, right? So think carefully about this direction. When I was in school, my mom used to say that this is like an alligator. An alligator opens its mouth. Is an alligator going to want to eat like one sunflower seed, or is it going to want to eat like a great big huge watermelon, do you think? Big watermelon. So the alligator mouth always points towards the biggest side. So see, the alligator mouth is pointing towards that side. The big open mouth is up toward the 8. So that means that the y and x are littler than, they're on the little side. They're littler than or equal to 8. So remember x is horizontal and y is vertical. So if you want to think about this, do you want to solve this vertically or horizontally? Do you want to solve it vertically or horizontally? Let's do it vertically. So let's look at the y. Focus on the y. So this is, by the way, is this the green line or the blue line? Green. So you look at the y, that's the vertical part. The part you're going to shade, which is the vertical part you're going to shade, is going to be on the lower side of the line. So lower vertically means downwards, right? So I'm going to draw an arrow from the green line that goes downwards like that. So we're going to show downwards below the green line. Then now let's look at the blue line. So the blue line, let's look at the y by that as well. The y value happens to be on the lower side vertically of that inequality, right? So we're going to shade below the blue line as well. So we're going to shade below the blue line. But now the thing is, we can only shade the part that is below the green line and the part that's also below the blue line. We can't shade anything that's not below both of them. So can I shade this area right there? Can I fill this area in? No, because that is below the green line, but it is not below the blue line though. How about, can I shade that area? No, because that's below the blue line, but it's not below the green line. The only part that I can actually shade is the part that's doubly below both of them, because it doesn't solve the whole equation unless it solves both parts. So I'm going to switch to yellow, because yellow is pretty, like a oop, did not work. Like a daffodil is yellow. Some of them are at least. Beautiful. So that's a solution. Any questions? Perfect. Okay, so did you survive that? Okay, let's do one more like that. And then you can go, maybe go home, I guess. It depends if it takes 8 minutes or not. If I go slow, it might take long enough. So let's do example 2. Are you ready? Any questions? Okay. So example 2, let me go back to black. Sorry, my fault. So example 2, it says y is greater than negative 2x minus 10. And then it says y is less than x plus 2. So that's what it says. And now this is when you have to think about slope and things like that. So I'm going to make the first one, I'm just going to say in black actually for the first one. So the first one's black, then I'm going to switch to blue for the second one. There we go. So let's draw the black line. So change that to an equation. It's going to be y equals negative 2x minus 10. And is it going to be solid or is it going to be a dashed black line? Dashed, exactly. Because it's no equal sign underneath the inequality. So let's make a table of values, x and y. Actually, how many of you probably have had intermediate algebra before, like you should have theoretically. So we don't even need to find a table of values. If you have it in this form, who knows what this form is called? This is called slope-intercept form. Remember that? So if you have it in slope-intercept form, as long as you know how to do it, you don't need a table of values. Because guess what? The negative 10 is the what? That's the y-intercept, right? So let's just put that right onto the y-axis. Let's just plot that. Boom. And it's going to be dashed. How do you draw a dashed point? Well, I'll just put like a little sort of small point right there. Oh, we could put an open point, actually. Hold on. An open point counts as a dashed point, I guess. There we go. Now you go to the slope. And what is the slope? Negative 2. But the slope represents what? Rise over run. Exactly. By the way, you have to run. Have you seen the video about hide, shout, run? No. Run, hide, shout. What was that video called? Did you see the security video ever? You never saw that? There's a video called Run, Hide, Fight, right? Yeah. So if you ever have anything bad happen, run first and then hide and then fight. So negative 10. Negative 10 is the, okay, that's that. So this is rise over run. So it's negative 2 over 1, because there's always an invisible 1 under anything that's not a fraction, right? So the top number tells you vertically how far to go. So is that up or down? Is it upwards or downwards? That's downwards. And the bottom number tells you how far to go, right or left. So is that right or is that left? A positive bottom is towards the right, correct? Yep. So we're going to go down 2 and right 1. So I'm going to use my laser pointer real quick. So there I am. From that point, I'm going to go down 2, 1, 2, and then right 1 over to there. So I'm going to have to draw some extra lines though. So 1, 2 down, and then 1 over. Then my next dashed point, which is like an open point, is down there. And now I can draw the line through them. So there's my dashed line. Presto. By the way, let me specify where that point is. So the first point was at 0, negative 10. And where's the next point at? If you go down 2, you'd be at negative 12. And if you went right 1, you'd be at what? You'd be at 1, right? So if you're at 0, you go right 1, you'd be at 1. So that point is 0, negative 10. That point is at 1, negative 12. So I'm done with the black line. Now let's do the blue line. Go to blue. Go to blue. So I'm going to erase the other equation. Is the blue line supposed to be dashed or solid? It's also dashed. Yep. So we're gonna change it to an equation, y equals x plus 2. So the y-intercept equals 2. So on the y-axis, we're gonna go to 2, draw a dash point at 2, which is equal to 0, 2. And then so what's the slope? There is no visible slope. So what's the slope if it's invisible? 1 over 1. So the slope, 1 on top is positive 1, so that means we go up 1. The 1 on the bottom is also positive, which means we go right 1. So from that point to 0, 2, we're going to go up 1 and right 1, which would leave us up 1 is there. Right 1 is also right there. So we're going to get to that point, which is at 1, 3, like that. So then I'm going to draw a dashed line. By the way, when you're making dashes through a line, that's called dashing the line, I guess. Have you ever heard of the word dashing? Like that person's really dashing. You ever heard of that? Like if somebody's handsome, they're called dashing. So has anybody ever heard of Marty Robbins? The singer called Marty Robbins? He had a song about dashing at one time. So there's that line. Now, I have almost forgotten about the big picture though. Never forget about the big picture. So I solved the small picture, the black line, the blue line. Now look at the big picture. Let's look the y again. So vertically speaking, is the blue line supposed to be shaded below or above? Well, y is on the little side of the blue line, so it should be shaded below the blue line. So the blue line should be shaded below itself, right? How about the black line? The black line should be shaded vertically. The y value, which is the vertical part of it, is on the big side. So you should shade above the black line. So shade above the black line, but below the blue line. So which region is that? Which region is below the blue one, but above the black one? It would be this part between them, right? That's above the black line, below the blue line. So perfect. So that's all for today. Make sure you remember to do the online test over chapter 3. And make sure to finish the homework over chapter 3 as well by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. And oh, I almost forgot. Did I do attendance?
Yeah, guys.
Okay, good. Let me just check on the people that weren't here when I called out. She's still not here. Okay, I think everybody is here. Yeah, right. Except for those 2 people. I think it's actually unlocked right now. Yep, you're right.
I left my hoodie in there.
Oh, okay, yeah, you can go get it. And I can also come down as well and open it for you.
Bye.
Thank you. You too. Goodbye. Thank you.